All right, what was the complaint?
Their complaint was poor reception, only picking up the local channels, I mean within a few miles of their vehicle. Static on all the other channels. You hit seek, it would not stop. So basically you could pick up something close because the actual coaxial is good, so it's picking up a slight bit of...
See what I mean? That's what I did.
Because the whole wire throughout the vehicle there is actually like an antenna picking up all the radio signals. So something's close that's not modified or it's not amplified will not reach this vehicle because it needs an antenna to actually pick it up. So it's just using the wire through the roof that's laying there as picking up rogue signals that are close. But once you have a power antenna there, it actually powers up and it actually brings in more stations from 50, 60, 70 miles away or whatever. And if you put that on there, I'm gonna shoot you, because what I've already done, which you won't actually see on this video, is I found this connector down below your A pillar and tested that power wire from the radio here to here, and it's good also. So that means the break is from here all the way to the back. So it's somewhere in your headliner because this wire harness runs in the top of your headliner. So what I'm going to do, because it's on this side of the vehicle, on the passenger side, I'm actually going to pull these panels here down, A, B, C pillar, and drop the headliner until I see maybe a open spot. Now we already know that this cabin air filter in this vehicle already had some evidence of mice, droppings and things of that nature, some candy. So we thought that was the initial problem in the first place, but where we looked where the mouse we knew he was, there was no damage to the wiring. So he must have come up this A pillar, and we're hoping that it's a mouse, did this, and chewed the wiring up in the harness, up behind, under the headliner here, the harness under the headliner. Because we don't want a quality problem with the vehicle, we'd rather it be something that happened outside the build of the vehicle. Alright, on most normal antennas, you don't have a powered antenna. You just have a mast. Well here, and it is so easy to miss when you look here, this is your coaxial, your center that carries your information, and the outside, which is actually the shield or ground. But if you look up here in the center, you have a small square 64 pin is what they call it, which is a small pin. And so to test this wire, you got to have power from your radio all the way back to your antenna to power the antenna up. So what I do is I take a 64 pin out of any type of module, a BCM, and cut it out and make sure that it's not distorted like that side is. Look at this side here. It's not distorted, it's nice and square. You insert it, run a jumper wire to the back and check resistance. Now this up here is where your antenna is. It's mounted in the roof panel. And this is your coaxial plug-in. So there's your antenna. You'll see it looks like a little shark fin on the roof, if you ever look on your roof. And this is the coaxial that unplugs. Well, the coaxial, just like the front, has a small little square hole that you would not think that has anything to do with it, but it's actually the power wire. So take another 64 pin, and you have to use the right terminal. If you use anything bigger, you'll destroy the wire, and then you have to put a whole harness in the vehicle. So put that in there easily. If it's a little rough, you want to turn it a little bit until it slides in easy. Now we're checking continuity from here all the way to the front using a DVOM. So we got our wire run all the way from the front all the way back through my DVOM on ohm setting, of course. And what we're going to do, we're plugged into this wire here. We're going to check it to see if the wire is good. It reads out of limits, which means that wire is open. There is no continuity or no complete line straight from here all the way to the front. So there's a break in the wire somewhere. Not high resistance, it's just open, or extreme resistance because it's open. If you were to actually test this and it be a good wire, when you touch those two together, just like this, it's a complete circuit, you will see less than 5 ohms, which would mean this circuit here is good, but your circuit through your roof for your power to your antenna is open.
Can you check for voltage back here, like if that was still plugged in and you check?
Yes. What you would do is you plug, right now for demonstration purposes, I have the radio removed. So what I would do is leave the radio in, plugged up, operational on, and come back here and of course go to my 64-way power pin at my antenna, and then check for power here to a ground source, a good ground, and I would have battery voltage.
So it takes 12 volts or system voltage to operate.
Voltage to operate. All right.
Antenna we're talking about.
Yeah, so basically now we got a rat's nest right here. Or a mouse has actually been chewing and eating and building them a nest. So we've got rodent damage. But where?
Yeah.
But wait, we'll find it. Now here is your other connector.
And it's going down that way,
And it comes
right?
down and then goes back up.
Oh, okay, it just loops back up. Ain't that pretty? And look at there, they left the coaxial okay. And it's so, is it not taped up in that purple wire too? But at least that's what they done there. And they didn't worry about this up here. Don't look like. There we go.
We're gonna split this back, check our coaxial, make sure none of the shielding was destroyed.
Did they get into the shielding at all? The
No.
shielding must not taste good.
They barely got on the edge of that, but it's not gonna hurt anything. It's not enough. I mean, it's just, I don't even think it barely, you can't even see it. I thought it was shielding. Yeah, barely got through, just a tad. But that won't hurt anything.
So that antenna kit that comes from Toyota, if it's got no power.
For checking for an antenna, it is good, but it is a non-powered antenna. So it's a test antenna that you plug up and just plug it to the center pin on your coaxial. And if you pick up stations and get a broader broadcast, different stations, that means that your coaxial is good all the way up front. But this is one model that the first time I've actually run across this where that antenna is actually powered, or run across this instance. Usually it's just the antenna or coaxial. So basically what you would have to test is the power wire after you use the test antenna to make sure you got power back there too. So the test antenna can give you some improper results because it's giving it a signal, where these antennas, the shark antennas, need power to be powered up. So what we're going to do is peel this back, because they've wrapped it from the factory really nice with all this purple tape. And we're just going to fix this by splicing in a new wire. Yes, you should replace most wiring, but since this is just a simple power wire, there's no worry about weather, corrosion, and we will put butt splice connectors or solder depending on what we use, and they will be weatherproof no matter which way we fix this. So,
And that doesn't pick up any noise that would affect the antenna anyway.
no, it's just a power circuit. It's actually a straight DC circuit, so it's not alternating current like you would have in a wheel speed sensor or something like that, where it's the waveforms
Could pick up noise
going,
and cause
would induce noise into your antenna system, so
Right.
you don't have a problem there.
Yeah.
And plus it'll be a solid contact across. Very low resistance fix. And then we will reassemble. This is a repair here. Use the butt splices. The best way to do it is to use the butt splices with the heat shrink and the sealer included. You can see right here the shininess coming out the end is the actually sealer inside this heat shrink that protects from any moisture or any corrosion occurring. And when you crimp your connectors, do not over crimp and crimp through the outer plastic. You will induce corrosion. Another thing with these connectors, do not use a lighter to heat shrink the plastic down. Only use a heat gun, because the lighter will you can actually burn the wire itself and or overheat the sealant, and it will be no good to you. But that's the best type of splice to use. And all we did was took a piece of wire out of another harness or another piece of wire you could find. It has to be the same size or larger And we're not talking about the outer diameter, we're actually talking about the copper, the actual wire inside, because sometimes you can have a large outer coating and have a real small wire inside. But as you can see here, and I also checked internally that this smaller wire had of course smaller wire, but this had a larger amount of copper or wire internal to this. So I actually went with a heavier wire, because if you use a smaller wire than they're actually using in the system, it can overheat, because it's designed, that wire is designed to be in that system. If you've got a wire that big around and you put a wire this size in the middle to fix it, it can't carry that electricity, it can't carry the amperage, and basically what it does is it overheats it. It creates a resistance and it'll burn, and you create a open scenario, and or you could actually catch something on fire if there's something around it that's non-fire retardant. Now the thing is, this wire is shielded, and as we talked before, this is a DC wire. It's not going to create as much interference, if any. So they've already just got it taped to the outside. So actually just having this retaped to it is going to be the same as factory. And that's what I'm going to do. I won't leave it loose like this. I'll tape it up to it, make it look presentable. And then we'll go from there and check our voltages at the rear. Now, one thing that I wanted to show you beforehand is the actual concern we had. And this is the concern we had. This is on a local radio station, in or out of the building, and all we have is static. Now if you switch down to now that radio station is local, but it's about 60 miles away. Now if you switch it to a radio station that is just here in town, it's got enough power to pick up through just the coaxial. Just this wire is actually acting as an antenna. So without that power, you can't pick up anything further with a power type antenna. So now what we do is we go ahead and verify we've got our radio put in, we've got the wire connected all the way to the rear of the vehicle. So we go ahead and we basically make sure that we've got a final repair here. And that our... So what we did was we got our 64-way pin in there, and we got it in nice and smoothly. We didn't jam, we didn't push it in. Make sure you always use the right size probe to that power wire. And what we're going to do is check if we can turn the key on. Check from the power wire, which is, I've got it jumper here, to a good ground. Which actually I'm going to use this bolt over here because this is coated. Normally these aren't coated, they're a good source of a ground. You always want to make sure you get a good ground. And we have battery voltage on that wire, which is 12.28 volts. See, it's hard because it's painted. You won't get a good ground. But now if you get up to a bare spot, you got 12.23 volts.
It's pretty much system voltage.
Battery voltage sitting here with the key on. Now if you start it, you're going to get in excess of 13, 14 volts, whatever the alternator is charging at. But that means our circuit is complete, our circuit is repaired, and all we have to do now is remove the pin easily and plug the powered antenna back up. Now we'll have to go check and see if we've got our other stations. This is actually what the antenna looks like without the plastic cover that's painted, the basic trim example. It's got a metal top, I guess, to actually pick up more radio stations. And then of course it's got a circuit board in here with a center coaxial right in the center.
See the little pin.
So you got the coaxial, which has got a center pin in it and an outer shielding connection, so it connects to the shielding. Center is where your signal comes through, and this is your small 64-way power supply to power this antenna. On a lot of antennas you won't see that, so it may catch you off guard. So we've got the vehicle back together, and what we're going to do is verify a repair. You always verify your repair. First you identify your complaint, identify your condition, and then verify. So what we got here is, we started out with no reception on any channels whatsoever, and I've got the volume down. except for 101.7, which is a local station. So we'll put it on there. Now we got perfect non-fuzzy sound, which we did before because it's so close and local that it's picking up on the coaxial. Now what I'm going to do is I'll just seek it.
And this is
It's actually picking up those local stations, which are about 50 miles away, 60 miles away. So we've basically verified that our repair for our power for our antenna has repaired the situation and corrected the condition.
Happy holidays, honey.